Well, all right, there we go. That was Lee Daniels. So let's talk about it. I wanted to talk about this one because it kind of is dear to my heart in as far as the beginning of why I started becoming a filmmaker that I became. And I want to, before I start, preface it as like, um, kudos to Lee Daniels speaking up for our people. When I say our people, I'm not talking about brown and black people. I'm talking about black folks. Thank you for speaking up in a room full of white people or non-black people that are around a table that happen to be in the industry as well. And being that the level that Lee Daniels is at, and I'm sure the level of what those other writers are at, that is very commendable. And let me tell you why. For the longest time, film is very a subjective business, meaning the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, meaning that the producer or the executive producer, the directors, the writers, they have a certain perception of what they want to write and what they want to film and what's going to get filmed. Okay. And then you have the whole Hollywood apparatus to dictate what films get filmed and get green lighted. Green lighted means what's going to go. And a lot of times Hollywood wants to deal with established, known IPs, intellectual properties. Maybe it was a book. Maybe it was a best-selling book. Maybe it was a movie from a long time ago and it did well in its time and they're going to reinvent it because now they found maybe actors or a director that will match the same energy and take it to the next level for today's audience. And you'll get those kind of movies. Of course, there's a lot of rumbling going on that the audience, we want more authentic material. So that's something that is going on as well. Now, let's just stick to the topic of Lee Daniels sticking it to the man. Sticking it to the man. I like that he said what he said. He went down and said that he takes pride to see black writers in a room talking amongst each other, speaking for him. That's powerful. That's powerful. For years we said we wanted us to build our stories for us and just for us. So these things that he was saying are essential for the storytelling. I believe Denzel Washington put it best. He said, it's not race, it's culture. It's culture. See, it's cultural for us to understand what it means to wake up on a Sunday morning to smell hot grease on a hot comb, on a hot comb, to being combed down on a person's on your sister's hair, your auntie's hair, somebody's hair. We understand that. Maybe there's a few people of other races that will understand it too, but we know we're gonna understand it. So to have a cultural person to direct or write the film, it makes it that much more better. So that part, I agree with him. The part that I felt like I started falling off on with him is that when we start to get very rigid and particular and saying, if I'm a black writer or a white writer, or I'm a writer, or I'm a producer, a director in Hollywood or anything in film, and if I'm writing a black movie, whatever that is, black movie or urban film type of movie, then I need to have, or I have a black character and I need black writers to write for that character so that character can sound authentic. I get it. Surface is the value. But it becomes rigid when we start to put color on art. Like color races are behind art. When you're writing a character, yes, you're writing the character for what it is, and there's a lot of character development that goes behind it, that goes in front of it, that goes with it. And preferably you're writing a character that's going to carry that story. Now, if that storyline is particular to this person has to be black and they're doing something that correlates with that. Maybe they're in an African country. Maybe they're in a black area movie or something. Maybe it's a fraternity movie. Maybe it's a black fraternity, and we gotta have that. Maybe it's a biopic, and it's a movie about a black activist or a black artist or a black person. I get that, yes, but ordinarily you want to have characters that are so dynamic that anybody can play the role. Anybody can play the role. You see, this is where the politics come in, is that we're not wanting affirmative action or DEI. This is not affirmative action or DEI methods. And that's where we get tossed up, because that's when you start introducing people into the fold that may not have the skill set, the talents, may not have the passion, and it may block other people that may not be black, that may be able to write and relate to the character and the spine of that story. That's what you want to be at. That's where you want to be. And I focus on the character and the spine of the story because I don't want to focus on just hiring the crew. And because I'm a black director, I want to hire black crew. Now, me personally, as a producer or a director, I do want to see more of us behind the camera, because I know that a lot of our culture or people aren't behind the camera. They are in front of the camera performing in some sort of capacity, but they're not behind the camera. And then not alone behind the camera, in the administrative executive suite offices, you see us. You see, when I started looking at film and seeing behind the scenes, I started seeing a lot of things that they didn't look like us. So me, as a rule of thumb, when I do get around some people that look like me and they do filmmaking, I do listen a little bit more intently. I do want to reach out to them more intently and bring them in more focusedly than maybe a non-brown person. And that's because of the cultural sense of understanding that a lot of us that are black or brown in America, we're not born into a film family or Hollywood industry type of thing. This is a very expensive industry. And so that's not typically something that we are accustomed to being in. So any chance I get a chance to bring somebody like us that is interested in being in it, and they have potential and they show the work ethic, I'm going to put my work ethic and my influence and potential into them. And I would like to say, fortunately, as I look around my small community that I've created, there's a lot of black and brown people that are behind the scenes on a lot of my sets. And I feel like that brings a sense of cultural power, cultural awareness. I think it encourages others. I think I truly believe that it gives other folks who may not look at us in those kind of light, they look at us in a different way. This is a very intelligent psychological profession. I'm not getting on here to knock Lee Daniels down on what he did and what he said and how he said it. I just wanted to put more context behind it, that it's more than just putting black faces in high places. It's more than just putting black faces behind the scenes and in the writing rooms. It's more so getting the right cultural mindsets in those writing rooms. So that way our stories, that is American history and American present and American future, can be told in the way that it should be told, through the eyes of the citizens that live in this country, which this country in itself is diverse. So anything that we decide to do, we shouldn't have to worry about how diverse it's going to end up being. And we shouldn't have to worry about how we're using the word diversity and what that means. Diversity shouldn't just mean we got a different bunch of races. And diversity shouldn't just mean that we have a bunch of different genders and a bunch of different ideologies of genders on our set. It should mean we are diverse enough to be flexible, to be understanding, to be able to tell a story comprehensively, no matter the race that we end up employing or casting. But that's all I have. Shouts out to Lee Daniels. Appreciate you standing up for the black filmmakers and the black writers that are out there. If there's any of you that are out there that are black writers or filmmakers and you need help and you want me to share your information, please put it in the comments and I will share it. But until then, we'll be back next time and we're going to talk about Ryan Coogler saying you need to build a community. And what does that mean to you to build a community? Does a community of filmmakers that you design, does that work for you? Do you think that works? Do you even think that that's real? Does that exist in your city? Does that exist in your town? A community of filmmakers coming together and making movies. Is that a real thing? Let's talk about it next week. Until then, be safe, be cool, and keep filming. Peace.